So you're wondering how much money you need to have in savings. And there's all kinds of information out there, people telling you all kinds of numbers, and it can get really confusing. Well, the answer that I'm going to give you is it needs to be tailored to you and your goals. Too much money in savings can actually be a problem because you're missing out on opportunities that money could be helping you with, but not enough, and you're leaving yourself exposed to a lot of risk. My name is Jake Williams. I'm a life insurance specialist with Step Up Wealth Management. For more information on savings accounts and how they should fit into a comprehensive financial plan, be sure to subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, that way you're notified anytime I upload new videos. So, one of the first questions you might have is why do you need a savings account? Or what is a savings account? Or what am I specifically talking about when I'm talking about savings? So, really, what I mean when I'm talking about savings is some form of liquidity. That is money that you can use immediately to cover debts, to cover expenses, or to take advantage of opportunities. And one of the places that a lot of people use to hold that liquidity money is a savings account. But just simply telling you what a savings account is isn't really what you were looking for when you followed to my video. What you're looking for is you're probably trying to figure out how much do you need to have in your savings account. And that number is going to vary wildly based on what your individual goals are. If your goals are simply to get out of debt, then that number for you is probably going to be a lot lower than if your goals were to save money for retirement or to fund money for a child's education or something like that. If you're trying to get out of debt, one of the foremost names that people are going to point to that you may have heard already is Dave Ramsey. And he is very well known in financial circles. He gives a lot of information on financial planning for people. And in terms of getting out of debt, I think his program is one of the best out there. In fact, it's the one that I used. Now, I don't agree with Dave Ramsey on everything, but in terms of getting out of debt, I think he is spot on. And one of his rules, and one of the first ones that he has for getting out of debt, is to save $1,000 in a savings account. It can be 1,000, it can be 2,000. It may depend a little bit on your budget and how much money you spend in a month, but having that $1,000, so let's say it's $1,000, you have that and you tuck it away in your savings account, and that money is just set there, and it sits there and it waits for those moments when something pops up that, oh crap, if you didn't have that $1,000 you would probably have to put it on a credit card or take out a loan or something to cover an expense that you needed right now. You hit a nail on your way to work and you got a flat tire and you need to drop $100 on a new tire. Or maybe it hit two tires and then those costs start to rack up. Tires on a car not cheap, or some other type of car repair or a home repair, something like that. Some sort of expense that comes out of nowhere that you can't avoid paying. That's what you use that money for. If you've paid off all your debt and your goals are to save money and grow your estate, grow your value, then that number for what you need in savings is going to be a lot different. And for that one, I can't give you a specific dollar amount because it's going to be based off of you and your budget. So what we used to recommend was 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So you figure out your budget, you figure out how much you spend in a week, in a month, and then you multiply that monthly amount by 3 or 6, and that's how much money you should have set aside, ready to go in case something were to happen. Well, 2020, like it did for a lot of people, completely changed how we look at things. And we realized that 3 months might not be enough because sometimes things completely out of your control can completely wipe out that 3 months of living expenses and you still aren't able to get back to it afterwards. So now we typically recommend 6 months to a year of living expenses. I know that's on the higher end of what a lot of people might recommend, but it's the number that is going to protect you the most. It is going to keep you the safest. Having 6 months to a year of your expenses tucked away, set aside, untouched, that you don't use for everyday things, ready to go if something were to happen. Nobody wants to see another pandemic, or maybe you're unable to work for a year due to health issues or whatever. Having that 6 months to a year of living expenses can really help you be flexible and not have to worry even if something terrible does happen. So have you seen or heard other dollar amounts that you should have tucked away? Maybe someone says, okay, you need $3,000 or you need 5 months of living expenses. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know how much you were told and where you heard it from. I'm always interested in seeing other lines of thought, figuring out where people come from. And a lot of times that can help me in the advice that I give to you guys. I've mentioned a budget a couple of times already in this video. After this video, be sure to check out my video on the budget, which I call the key to unlocking your financial plan. The reason I call the budget the key to unlocking your financial plan and why it's so important to figuring out how much you need in savings and so many other parts of your financial plan is it tells you exactly what you need. It's not going to be me telling you you need $1,000 or somebody else telling you you need $500 or $5,000. It takes what you spend and what you use in your unique life situation, and you use that number to determine everything else that you need. How much money you need in savings, how much money you're going to need in retirement. All those things get figured out by your budget, and it is why I call budget the key to unlocking your financial plan. So I've been talking about how much money you need in savings. Well, that doesn't necessarily have to be just a savings account. Really, what I'm talking about is it needs to be liquid. That could be savings, that could be in your checking account. If you have some money tucked away in there, maybe you've got a couple of months tucked away in savings account, maybe you might want to look into some sort of very safe, very protected account that might grow a little bit faster. There are so many options out there, but really what we're talking about with this savings and this liquidity number is it needs to be accessible, and it needs to be accessible right away, quickly, and it needs to be safe. So it's not something where you're going to lose money. You don't want it in the stock market because the stock market goes crazy. That's not your liquidity account. There are plenty of places and times where having money in the stock market is a great thing, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm recommending. What I'm talking about is money that you have set aside that you can get to that day or the next day at the very latest if something were to come up. So that could be savings, that could be checking. If you really want to have cash on hand, that could be bills set in some safe lockbox somewhere. But what we're talking about is liquidity, having money that you can get to right away if something were to happen. And my final point on liquidity for today is its place within the importance of your financial plan. So that liquidity is there to protect you. And if you take money out of that liquidity, you now have less protection. So if something comes up where you have to dip into this savings, where you have to dip into this liquidity account, an opportunity shows up that's too good to pass up and you need to pull some money out of savings to take advantage of this opportunity. Or on the bad side, something happens, something bad happens where you need to cover an expense right now. That's what those accounts are for. That is why you have that money. So please don't be afraid to use it. But if you do use that money, all of the other plans, all of the other things in the financial plan that come after this liquidity and savings need to go on hold. The first priority that you have after taking money out of your savings account or your liquidity account, once the issue that you took the money out for is resolved, your first priority needs to be building that savings back up. So we talk about keeping that budget and having a certain amount that you put towards your future plans or savings or anything like that. So if you have a year's worth of savings and then something comes up where you need to spend $5,000, say it's a medical expense, Once you get healthy, your first priority doesn't need to be maxing out your retirement accounts after that. Your first priority needs to be building that savings back up, because that retirement account is going to keep going and doing what it's doing. Your liquidity, your savings account, that's there to protect you. And if you've taken money out for, resolving a problem, that's exactly what it's for. But you now have less protection against future problems. So your next goal needs to be building that protection back up before you start worrying about other things in the future again. If you like this video, check out the link in the description below. It'll take you to my masterclass, and it'll also direct you to apply to become my client. Again, if you like this video, also make sure you've subscribed, you hit the notification bell, but also give me a thumbs up. That lets me know that I'm doing well, I'm giving you the information that you're looking for, and I am helping you. That's why I'm here, that's why I do this, is I want to help you guys. Please make sure if you take care of your now, your future, and beyond.